The late 1970s. The Cold War is in full freeze, jeans are contraband in half the world, and if you drive a Lada, it means one of two things. You were either born behind the Iron Curtain, or you really, really hate yourself. This time on Four Wheels and Fuel, we're lining up three wildly different machines that defined motoring for the masses, depending on which side of the Berlin Wall you happen to be born on. First up, the Lada 1200, the Soviet Union's trusty tin tank, licensed from Fiat, detuned for reliability, red paranoia, and assembled by comrades who measured panel gaps in optimism. Then there's the Trabant 601, East Germany's infamous paper car, powered by a two-stroke engine that sounds like a lawnmower being tortured and made of Duraplast, which is basically shredded cotton waste hardened into political shame. And to keep things honest, we've got the Ford Escort Mark II, Britain's blue-collar hero. While the Eastern Bloc was queuing for spark plugs, your average lad in Leeds was spinning the rear tires on a damp country lane with the radio up and a Greggs sausage roll in the glove box. It's a glorious clash of ideologies, design philosophies, and build quality so uneven it could trigger vertigo. But we're not here to mock. Okay, maybe just a bit. So grab your aviator shades and your best "the West is decadent" scowl. We're about to drive through history, one piston slap at a time. This is episode 4. Lada 1200. When you think of Soviet ingenuity, your mind might wander to Sputnik, chess grandmaster, or frighteningly efficient Q formation. But the Lada 1200, that was Mother Russia's idea of a people's car, built tough enough to survive Siberia, yet simple enough to be fixed with a hammer and a bad attitude. Born from the bones of the Fiat 124, the Lada 1200, nicknamed the Kopeka, the smallest Soviet coin, 1/100th of the ruble, or Vaz 2101, if you want to get technical and a little scared, was the result of a Soviet-Italian love affair. Fiat provided the blueprints, the tools, and the know-how, and the USSR promptly redesigned it to survive potholes the size of Belarus. They reinforced the chassis, installed thicker steel, and even replaced the disc brakes with good old-fashioned drums. Because apparently stopping was optional. Under the bonnet, a 1.2-liter inline 4 petrol engine producing a thrilling 60 horsepower, 0 to 60, eventually. Top speed? Around 87 miles per hour if you could find a road or a regime brave enough to let you try it. But the real story isn't performance, it's resilience. Lada were made for roads that weren't really roads. They could be driven over gravel, sand, snow, or corpses of previous Ladas. Maintenance? Easy. Just open the bonnet and shout at it in Russian. The interior was Spartan, plastic, vinyl, and whatever dreams were left after communism had their way. But who cared? It was cheap, reliable, and available. Eventually. Most people waited years for their Lada, which meant by the time they got one, they treated it like a third child. And while the West snickered, the Lada outlasted empires. You can still find them running today, smogging up the streets of Eastern Europe like aging Marlboro men with a grudge. It may not have been pretty, or fast, or remotely modern, but it worked. And in Soviet Russia, that was about as high as the bar ever got.
Vier Trümpfe mit dem Trabant 601. Bequem für 4 Erwachsene. Viel Raum für Ihr Gepäck. Wendig. Schnell. ausdauernd und robust. Ihr zuverlässiger Begleiter, der neue Trabant 601.
Trabant 601. This is the Trabant 601, a car so iconic it outlasted the Berlin Wall and possibly a few of its own passengers. Built in East Germany by VEB Sachsenring, the Trabant 601 wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of ingenuity, of survival, and of what happens when you try to build an automobile under communism with zero access to steel. Instead of metal, it used Duraplast, a strange press-molded concoction of recycled cotton and plastic resin. That's right. East Germany's flagship car was basically made from old Soviet uniforms and Bakelite glue, which sounds like a joke until you realize it wasn't. Powering this Cold War relic was a two-stroke, two-cylinder engine that made 23 horsepower. Not 230, just 23. Trabant tickled the engine in 1969. Grab a seat, I don't want you falling over. It now made a whopping 26 horsepower monster. It sounded like a chainsaw with bronchitis and left behind a blue cloud of smoke so thick it could be considered performance art. Top speed? About 62 miles per hour. That's assuming there was enough fuel, and that you didn't stall it while double declutching into second gear. Because yes, the gearbox had no synchromesh, just like a tractor or a punishment. And yet, the Trabant 601 worked. It did what it was supposed to do. It moved people. Sure, it took 10 years on a waiting list to get one, and the heating was more of a suggestion than a feature. But when you finally got behind the wheel, you were free, sort of. The styling, boxy, but not in a chic Volvo way, more like we ran out of curves in 1962. Still, it had a huge boot, light steering, and a turning circle that could shame a London taxi. The 601 ran from 1963 to 1990 and barely changed at all. That's 27 years of two-stroke stubbornness. And when the wall fell, Trabis poured westward like an exodus of noisy, smelly freedom pods. People laughed and cried and laughed again. The Trabant may have been underpowered, outdated, and outrageously crude, but in its own plucky, puffing way, it was a triumph.
Today, a gallon of petrol costs around 80 pence. The Ford Escort 1300 does 44 miles per gallon at a steady 50. Today, you do more driving on motorways than ever before. At the motorway speed limit, the Ford Escort is cruising. Today, congested cities make parking increasingly difficult. The Escort is only 13.1 foot long. Today, the average family has 2.2 children. The Escort can comfortably carry 4.2 people. Today, there are more long vehicles than ever on Britain's roads. The rally-bred Escort can accelerate from 30 to 50 in 6.5 seconds. The Ford Escort. It's the right car for the kind of driving you have to do today.
Ford Escort Mark II. And now, from the brutalist concrete of East Germany to something a little closer to home. The Ford Escort Mark II, or as it's properly known in car circles, Mark II. This was Britain's people's car, back when the word Ford still meant fun, frugal, and just a bit feral if you knew what you were doing. Launched in 1975, the Mark II wasn't a revolution, more like a well-timed facelift. Underneath, it still shared much of its chassis and mechanicals with the outgoing Mark I, but what it gained was attitude. Gone were the bubbly 60s curves. In came the boxy, squared-off 70s swagger, like it had borrowed a blazer from James Hunt and never gave it back. Engines? Take your pick. From the humble 1.1 liter for supermarket duty, all the way up to the spicy RS 2000 with its 2-liter Pinto engine. A car that basically screamed, "Yes, officer, I know why you pulled me over." But for most folks, it was the 1.3-liter and 1.6-liter variants that did the daily grind. Paired with rear-wheel drive, a manual gearbox, and handling that was surprisingly nimble for a family car, the Escort Mark II had just enough bite to make it a weekend warrior and just enough rattles to keep your mechanic employed. It became the go-to car for young drivers, your mum, your uncle's ex-wife, and every rally driver from Wales to Monte Carlo. In fact, it was rallying where the Mark II found its ultimate playground. The RS 1800 was so dominant, it practically became gravel's favorite child. Interior comforts were basic: seats, a steering wheel, an AM radio, and 2 coat hooks if you were feeling luxurious. But who needed luxury when you had a chassis that begged to be sideways? More than just a car, the Escort Mark II was a rite of passage. It was the last of the simple, soulful analog Fords before the bean counters won. Fun fact, did you know that until 1977, only the higher-spec Ford Escort Mark II trims, like the GL and GA, featured square headlights? It wasn't just about lighting the road, it was about looking grown up. In the 70s, square headlights were considered posh and modern, a subtle nod that your Escort wasn't just a workhorse, it was a status symbol on wheels. From 1978 onwards, even some lower trims, like the L, began receiving square lights in certain markets, but before that, it was strictly for the classy crowd. If the Lada was made to survive punishment and the Trabant to survive communism, the Mark II Escort was made to survive your teenage years. Barely. 3 cars, 3 ideologies. And one loud, smoky reminder that the late 70s were anything but subtle. From Lada's hammer-proof simplicity, to Trabant's puffing persistence, to Ford's sideways spinning practicality, these weren't just cars. They were statements on wheels. Maybe it once sat in your parents' driveway, or your neighbor spent late nights tinkering with it. What did this car mean to you? But next time, oh, we're heading somewhere special. Buckle up for Italian flair, German efficiency, and just a touch of French drama. And if you want more Cold War horsepower, carbureted chaos, and backstreet brilliance, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, and keep it rolling with 4 Wheels and Fuel, where every car tells a story and some of them even start.